Yes.
Okay, perfect. Good morning.
Good morning.
Thanks for showing up for the second half of your staff meeting class today. I'm just going to teach you about shag, mullet. Really, it's going to just be about techniques to create texture and movement within the hair. I'm doing it in a shag look, but it really will give you techniques to kind of play with long hair haircuts, butterfly cuts that are coming right now, the new in looks that are popular that are coming out of Europe that we're seeing a lot. Everybody wants like an octopus happening thing that's going on. I'm not sure how that's gonna land, but there's gonna be little like shapes and things that I'll teach today that maybe will help you kind of add that little bit of like detail to that look if you end up getting it. I love that all of you like cut your hair into freaking bobs. You know, just needed one mullet. This was my fun picture last night that I was just dinking around. I thought it was entertaining. But
Joey has a bob too. Yeah.
Did Joey cut off her hair too? I love it. I just am gonna put extensions in forever now and just not have short hair. So I do think shag to me is very like long layers. It could be a long haircut, it could be a short haircut. It goes from into like that beautiful long layer, boisterous, like voluminous hair, or it goes into like short, tiny pixie cut. This is just the angles of the dangles and the techniques to get you to where you need to go. Molly, you can come hang out if you want. You don't have to sit here. But what I'm going to do is I'd like to demonstrate the shape and texture with a scissor cut with my mannequin, and then I'm going to use my razor for my guest. Molly is my guest today. And we're going to give her a fun shag and shaping, but I want to show you how you can do this with scissors and do it with a straight cut of a scissor or a shear, as opposed to just relying on your razor blade. And you guys just did that Bumble class, so you're comfortable with your razor. If you're not comfortable with your razor or the technique of it, please let me know and what each level of the razor is used for. I should probably get my scissors out. Maybe that'll be a good idea. But I think the one thing is consultation for me, always 100%, is being able to ask them what they're looking for as far as movement in their hair, what they want to see, what they don't want to see. If they want a heavy fringe, if they want shaping around their face that's going to give them little detailed tweakies when they pull up their hair. Do they want something that's going to have, like, do they have curl in their hair? Do they already have preset texture? Do they have some curl and some not curl? How much more do you have to put in to create the movement that will add to that? Here.
Sorry about my texture. It's been like 3 years since I had a haircut.
This is kind of perfect. Like, yes, give it to me.
I think it was too.
Oh my God.
I know.
Well,
I've done a couple of home jobs, as you can tell by my bangs, but that's fine. I'm not trying to impress anybody. I'm fucking old and married. I don't give a shit.
We don't want to impress anybody, just ourselves.
Exactly right.
So the one thing that I'm going to do is just show you the parting section for the beginning of a haircut. If I were taking this as my model, and she says, I want to see some like butterfly bang, or I want to see a little bit of more of that beveled like swoopy bang, but I like having all this little, like I like the little detail around it. So we're going to think about what we want to see in front of her face. But we're also going to feel where the round of her head is. So I'm going to start her parting for the fringe and the framing of her face. I'm going to start it right as her head would round. And we can take that if you look down. It's right at the round of her head. This is a kind of awesome mannequin. All pushing forward where we want it to push forward. So basically, I'm going to take from the front into the front, just in front of her ear. I'm going to do 4 partings, but this is going to be detail work right in front of her face. I'll show you. This is actually a very simple overall shape to develop, and then it becomes all your fine-tuning, like manufactured bits. So So it gives you the ability to like kind of have fun as you create the shape and then break the shape up, which I think is like what we do as hair artists, is we've always got like the area that we know, we give ourselves our graded shape, and then we can like mess it up. But you need to create your box first, you know, get yourself put in your box and then. So basically we're gonna do 4 quadrants, but I'm leaving out that front bang. Learning how to do things. Oh my God.
Are these not your favorite clips?
I've never used these clips, they're very new to me.
Do you want some different?
But also I'm
Like
totally,
Jaws?
it's more I just need to learn how to do things. It's alright, sometimes you gotta go with your flow.
Do you like
Look,
those big
I'm gonna
jaws?
create boundaries with you, Casey. No, I'm just kidding.
Do you want some different clips?
No, I'm just fine. So generally, when you do part your quadrants, I like to sit behind the ear just slightly, because with a mullet or with a shag, I do want to leave some movable parts under here, so I tend to not go directly above the ear, I go just behind the ear. I did it, it stayed. Good job, Shandra. So do you guys have anybody that you follow or that you look at and you think, wow, they cut a great shag? Or what are you finding that you love about them or that you aren't getting? Like, what are you not clicking with?
I like the left thing.
Oh my God, Left Brain Group is awesome. I don't know if any of you follow Jane from Edo Salon. She taught me through Bumble. She owns her salon out in San Francisco, and this is her like technique that I'll be kind of playing around with. So basically what we're gonna do is we're gonna find the center of this heavy fringe area. Just this dangly bit here. Okay, so as you can see, like I've got my 4 sections. Okay. And what we're gonna do is I tend to just let the hair part where it naturally wants to part in the center. So if it's just slightly off, you will be just fine, because it will land more naturally with your client's hairline shape. I'm gonna take the smallest of sections and we're gonna go basically this tiny little isosceles triangle. So just itty bitty. But I'm gonna create my guide from that center space. And we can go long, we can go short, we can make it really like a super heavy, like swoopy bang. She can move it back and forth, or they can move it back and forth. She just use they pronouns, right? Like, which is the best way for me to be seen. Okay, so in this is the angles that I'm gonna be cutting, but the fringe I've left out of my guide. So the rest of the hair we're gonna pull up. We're gonna pull up, and we're gonna we're gonna bring everything up here to the sides. But the fringe we're leaving out, we're creating it as its own shape. And so I think that's one of my signatures that I've taken from many other artists that have inspired me, is creating the framing around the face just in front of the ear to develop the look, the little shaping and beauty around the eye, you know. And then we'll create the layering that creates the rest of the hair. So that's really what I'm doing right now. So
I'm not used to starting with the fringe first.
So
I always cut, I cut with the fringe first, because I will determine, like I'm gonna say, we're gonna settle her kind of right under her, right at the bridge of her nose.
So the picture at the top left one,
Mm-hmm.
that's for your section.
This will be my sectioning
Okay.
for my layers.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm actually gonna come up underneath this because I like to have it be, I want that cup. So if I cut under at an angle, this longer hair is gonna round under the shorter hair. So that way I can create my guide. We can go up a little bit more or less. And on each side, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring, at an angle, we're gonna pull directly to center. We're gonna pull directly to center, we'll pull directly to center. So what's gonna happen is you're gonna butterfly out. So we're gonna create those long bits, to come up, and those under bits will tuck under. So it'll kind of create a rounded momentum. And if you need to change my angle, let me know. Because I'm definitely, I want to come up on this side, so I'll move. Okay. So I'm coming to the center. And I'm following the part with my fingers. So you can over direct, which will create a very much more like swoopy, developed curtain fringe. I'm gonna over direct just so you can see that I've left like about an inch, and I can come up underneath and really corner that off.
You mean like an inch past your guide?
Yeah, an inch past my guide. So I can sometimes I mean, anyone, it's nice to when you first start something to give yourself a little room. Okay. I'm gonna just take a diagonal parting. And we're gonna come back, and I am gonna over direct because I do like to work with you, and yes, I did.
When it comes to the angle that you're pulling out, it's kind of looking like 90 from like the front hairline.
Yeah,
and
it's
then,
directly.
like, traveling guide to that. If
Yep.
not over-directing. Okay.
So basically, you're just going to use your center guide each time, but you're going to pull. So you're going to have this weight that is that softness. And when you look down,
Oh yeah.
then you can see
That
this
looks good.
little move.
Sorry, I
This
like
little
that.
guy. A little bit.
In the corner?
Yeah.
How far down did you split your bang?
When I went down in here. Oh, when I went down in. So what I do is I go into the hairline right above the ear.
Okay.
And on
so you do
humans,
that
on a
little
human,
piece.
I'll pull it right to the hair corner, but I want to leave this length on the man.
So you get like this little bit.
I go down
Okay.
in the front.
Okay.
So that's part of my detailing is like, I'll carve out these edges underneath. So like even in my hair, you can see like we've created these spaces here that are definitely disconnected from the back. Guys, it's hot in here.
It is.
I was just like, cause I run hot, it's a joke.
No, it actually is. I take it off my sweater.
It's not very hot in here.
Yeah, it's just Shandra.
68.
Oh, that's perfect. That's my favorite temperature. It really is my favorite temperature. And we'll do that again. We'll follow our center guide. And I'm coming at it a little backwards because so you guys can see it. You can see my guideline. And I think it's really fascinating. There's these moments where I'll hold the hair and I'll move how I see where the hair goes. So I can get a visual of how it's gonna lie. I understand that if I have it shorter underneath and longer on the front, I'm gonna have that like tuck and bend. But then there's also, you can really like get in here. I'm gonna show you these carving shapes that are gonna come in and create all that movement on the internal side of that fringe. But the more you over direct, the more sort of like fun fluffiness you have, but the more you're regulated, you have a little bit more of that solid base form to kind of give you.
Do you recommend like starting like this versus doing your textures and this shape at the same time?
It depends on the density of the hair, to be perfectly honest. And if you're really gonna just use your scissor, I like creating that dense line and then busting it up. But I do think the texture of the hair will determine like how I start something as far as if I use it so solidly or if I go in straight away with a razor and just create the movement as I'm going. Once you kind of get comfortable with it, easily create the movement as you go. But it's nice to give you a,
If they had fairly curly hair, would you kind of do like a deeper point cut in this?
yeah, you could go super deep.
Cute already.
Yeah, so you've created this just like nice base beginning step, and you know that you can you can really blend it together with these corner pieces of length, or you can just like cut it off and mess it up. So we're gonna keep this out of the way for right now, but I am gonna use a little bit of the base of the top length as my layer for as the guide for my layers. So what we're going to do is now we're gonna create the length for the rest of the hair. And I'm gonna take a center section.
Somebody's not.
Nope.
And of course, some heads, all heads are gonna be different. But I like to have this top section be uniform if I can. On this head, I'm making it a little bit less. Oh, come with me. I don't know if you can see that. So it's like a really thin credit card shape. Sanitized.
Yes, this is sanitary.
Thank you, sir. Okay. And this is where you can create the momentum of short to long to neutral, basically. So if we were to take my guide, you know, I have a pretty healthy guide right in the front. It gives me these short basic layers. If I want to really kind of over direct and have this length sit a little bit longer, have the layering be more underneath, I want to kind of like really give it a little extra shatter. So what I'm going to do is two shapes. We're going to go to the top corner. We're going to go out towards the shape of the head. So we're still at the angle to keep these kind of on the longer, but this top length will kind of come over. But then I'm gonna take it back and I'm gonna cut off that back corner. So that way I actually have more like movement in the possibility of what I'm gonna create with the back length. And then I'm gonna bring it back. So it's really, for me, it is just creating, just do it in partings and create clean partings. I think we forget to just give ourselves a little moment, and it's okay when you do. So now we're just gonna do that horizontally, straight up. We're gonna meet our guide. And I'll collect like parts of the fringe, but it will all fall out. So just follow that you're still at a 90-degree angle from the top of the head. Parting. Also, I don't know why I have the worst allergies in the world. It's all the coke that I did last night. It was just a ridiculous moment. I just Sweeney Todd last night.
Oh, it was so good.
I mean, it was. There were some weird choices in it.
That's what my client said.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
Yeah. There was a moment. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just one weird moment. It took me out of the show.
I wonder if it was the same.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. Joanna doesn't need to be having sex with anybody on stage. No.
Oh,
That
well,
moment. I was like,
she did
what?
not mention that.
Oh, what? I want to know what her moment was.
Yeah. She was weirded out by the lack of gore all throughout, and then at the end, it was just like, oh my god, like she was not expecting.
Oh, the bloody.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because it hadn't been there throughout.
It's not really gory though until that moment. That's what's the cool shock about it. Okay, sorry. Okay.
Anyways.
It's nice to be able to have a very good conversation while you're eating.
I just now realized that, oh yeah, the judge did get, like, have blood when he got killed.
Yeah.
What?
Okay. Does everybody see my angles and my things? I don't wanna like distract from what I'm doing. This is where like if I've truly learned undereducated, I'm like, I have to stop. Like I need to have other conversations.
That is one stationary guide straight up, middle
Yep.
part.
Yeah, straight up. So we're doing straight horizontal partings all the way through. And I'm coming just back to my same angle.
Center.
Yep. Also, if anyone has not been, if you've not been to the Nordic Museum, there's a really cool exhibit right now. It's like a sensory deprivation where they put you in this huge room and it's just black. And you just hear light and sound and this piece of music for like 26 minutes. I was in it.
Is it specifically Nordic sounds?
It's Nordic sounds and music. So it's almost like you feel like you're underneath the sea in a boat.
It's like the bathroom at a bar.
Yeah. Kind of. Probably could be.
That's where they got the exhibit from.
It is, it's really weird.
So you can see, you've already created this movement down through your ends. And I like to create my perimeter after I'm done. So. Okay. No, it's just me. I just sweat.
There's a necklace fan around here.
Oh yeah, I know. Doesn't Joey wear that?
Yeah.
Okay. So now what we're gonna do is we have the whole back half of behind the ears, and we're gonna take pie chart partings. Nice sharding. So I'm gonna give you two visible options of it because I just can't talk today. This is where you determine like what type of length and layering you want through the ends. If you really want to create more of a heavily layered top section, we're gonna pull everything up and cut it. And what happens is it really gives that like broken blend, but you still have solidness through the ends on the bottom. If you don't, which is generally how I roll, I like to give myself, again, two sections. So I'm gonna drop out the base. I'm gonna create my own guide because I'm gonna blend the bottom. So does everybody, so I'm basically 90 degrees out from the back of the head, from just under the occipital, and I'm gonna curve my hand just enough to give bend. And then I'm gonna bring it up to meet my guide layer on the top. I just have to find it. So she's right there. Okay. And she's gonna be quite a bit of an angle. So we can over direct and I kind of pull that out so I can give myself a little, she's got long hair, so. All right, so now you can see where we're at. I'm gonna meet here to here. And have the right, don't be afraid to drop out what you need to drop out to meet your match. And pivot. You don't need to take from the other part that you've just cut. You can take a slight bit if you want to guide. It's more just getting the feel. It's getting this whole like lifting up straight. It was the most difficult part for me to be comfortable with. Just like there's so much hair that I'm cutting off.
I have a question.
Yes.
Do you ever have to like stand on a stool?
I was just thinking
I don't.
Like your chair goes
luckily
down
my
pretty low.
chairs are short, or I have them like moved.
Okay.
Also, I do think like there was a world where everybody's worried about creating such tension with cutting,
Somebody's here.
Cool.
and I think we understand like we can let the tension down and move our elbow down if we need to find our place. As long as you keep your tension in the top.
Yeah, like in beauty school, they're like, don't
do
bring your
not
arms
drop
down.
and don't drop your elbow.
Yeah.
And now you're like, keep your wrist like this, do
Yeah.
not move the things.
Yeah. Hey, can somebody do some gift shopping? You guys have
I love her. She's like,
Oh, great, come on in. Yeah, I can check it out. I'm part of the class. Yeah, so go for it.
Appreciate it, Chuck.
and you can see I had probably picked up some of the previous original lines. You can can take as thin of diagonal partings so you can make sure you follow your guide. You can take really dense. It's just knowing the pattern. I think that is my thing that I'd like to impart to you, is just feeling comfortable with the pattern. Because once you understand and are comfortable with where you know things need to go, it's a lot easier to kind of just go in and go fast a little bit. But also just have the knowledge that you are exactly where you need to be.
That gives you a little bit more creativity with it too.
And very much so. But each time I take this out, I'm just following the curvature of the head. But basically above the occipital is where you're holding it up to a vertical, like straight edge. So then, when you pull up, you should have, like, it should be shorter in the center and kind of longer out towards the sides. All right, so let's see, just even the shape of that moment with those blunt cuts, with those straight cuts, what you have gotten. Is just a nice amount of natural movement.
Yeah, even just with it, you haven't done any.
Yeah, I haven't done any
It's so
texturizing,
able.
any point cutting.
Yeah.
It's all gonna, and then this is where, you know, you can determine what the base of your cut is gonna look like. I like to then go in and do framing and shaping after that. But then I do wanna show you a little few techniques with texturizers. And I really wanted to show you options with scissors, because not everybody loves a razor, and not everybody's hair texture needs a razor. But to achieve these things, it's nice to have the options for tools.
Kind of looks like the lead singer from Finals.
I know, or Steve Perry. My little Steve Perry now. Okay, so then what I'm gonna do is follow that same same horizontal pattern. So I'm gonna come down from the side. I'm gonna lift up these horizontal sections. And we're gonna see that I have all this weight here, right? You can see all of the heaviness. I'm gonna come in back, and I'm gonna come in forward. But I'm still gonna keep this heavy line. I won't tell But that's where I think I still wanna have this, because this holds the shape. This holds where the weight sits under the face, but I need to break it up. But I want to still have that weight. And you can go in really deep, you know, carve it out, do what you gotta do. But you've still got a weight line, which is intentional. And I'm not gonna bring everything up and cut that, you know, together each time. I wanna do individual sections. We're only gonna do this above the parietal. So I usually end up using 2 to 3 sections. Just so I can see it. So I can see where that weight is still heavy, but I wanna be able to kind of carve it so I can see through it. And also, when you think about how you're texturizing, if your scissor is cutting away, it's gonna bounce it back. If you're cutting it forward, it's gonna bounce it forward. That's why I like to go in one way, and then I like to turn it back. So it gives it movement, it doesn't give it a stagnant position.
If you're gonna texturize deeper than that and like take more petals out,
Yes.
when does that come into play?
So what I would do with petals, it's more about taking, if we're gonna look at, see like where the hair wants to fall.
What do you mean?
And so petals, so here, I'll show you what petals. Thank you. Yeah. So in the hair, it will be like this. I'm really bad. I have to practice my drawing. But basically we want curvature in the hair pointing one way and the other. So I'm gonna carve the scissor down onto this direction and this direction. We're gonna give it momentum in its shape. So if you have a parting, like of a bang right here, and I want it to sit just to flip away, what do you think I would do? Like I wanna do C shapes
Yeah.
through here.
Yeah.
But if I went C-shaped partings like this, in the middle of them,
Uh-huh.
I cut in those petal parts.
Okay.
So it's basically cutting off those little tips to
Yep.
bring everything together. So if you think I really want it to flip away from the face, I'm going to do C-shaped partings to push away. So the hair will gather and flip away. But if I disrupt it and I give it opportunity to have a little bit of just the disrupted momentum, so instead of doing just C on one directional angle, I move it and push it the opposite.
Okay. I've just never heard that term before. Thank you.
Yeah. So I create petals in the hair.
Yeah.
Thanks, Molly. I'll be with you in 2 minutes.
Oh, no worries, I'm just talking shit on Facebook.
You talk-
Do it like
So
your
and
best.
so this is what I'll show you is where you can take petals. So I'm gonna do this from the top. So I'm gonna come in and I'm gonna take my scissor, I'm gonna kind of loosen the hair, I'm gonna go open and close, open and close. But then I'll take it from the opposite side and go open and close, open and close. So I come
So do you always
back.
change your over direction when you're
So I'll
cutting from
change the
other
over
direction?
direction.
Oh.
If I really know I just want these things to come in and move, one like bouncy back and forth.
Thank you.
Yeah, totally.
Do you always do that horizontal or do you also do that vertically?
I do it vertically sometimes. I think it just depends on the texture of the hair and what the overall finished look is going to be.
So what would the look be if you were to do that, like, vertically through her fringe, pulling it this way versus doing it horizontally?
So it will just give a different density of how the hair lays towards the face or away from the face. So vertically will probably allow you to have more movement away from the face, or if you were to bring it horizontally, you can guide it where it to sit, where it will naturally sit normally and just end at the bend. Does that make sense?
Yeah, okay.
And you can definitely see like how much denser it was on this side of the hair than it was on that side of the hair. So everybody's seeing it if I need to move around. And this is where, so I come in from the top, this will face it forward, and you can turn your scissor around and come from the back. The next step, and then I would do that throughout the hair. I just wanna show you the framing.
And you said you only do that to the parietal, and that's to like
So I only bring it up
preserve-
to the parietal, so I
Yeah.
can conserve the base of
Yeah,
the
okay.
frame. And that's where if you know you really wanna mullet it, if you wanna take off this corner, bring it all up, shatter the shit out of it and play with that and be comfortable with it. But that's that conversation and consultation is understanding where you want it to lie. Yeah. So and that's where at the end of this, as I'm done with doing my like shattering and movement, and I'm gonna come around and I'll show you a little bit of the way that I attack the frame. And I'm gonna do this again just with my scissor. I'm gonna bring it out. And this is very bubble technique still. I feel like there's so much that I will always end up going back to. But I'm gonna come in underneath. And by doing this, I'm creating petals. I love that. And you can flip up, you can texturize, and you can take out. But then you create this like bend and click and little movement. And you can say, okay, I wanna just like, I'm ready to take this like corner off and going in. And if it's just heavy, then we can start taking out, because we've set in our pattern, we've set in the weight lines, we've set in all the texture. Now it's time to kind of mess with it. I do like to over direct, so I know I'm naturally gonna leave these things that will sit in here. But I'll stand behind it and I can carve it down. And just get in kind of deep. Don't be afraid. But you still have weight that sits in. So So they've still got body and you're not like annihilating the head of hair. Where I think that's where we get scared is like those scissors and those razors will just like carve out all that weight and you're just like, I just left my already fine haired client with like no hair to do it as they please. So I think that's where I find like cutting with scissors ahead of time in those shapes lets me know exactly where, like look at that lovely little bend is gonna be. And then we'll tweak the bang a little bit. So with this, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna see how it is horizontally. I'm gonna go in, but I'm still keeping that same angle of my dangle. Those are my words for today. And if you just think about how you are going in, if you're going up underneath and carving out, you're creating roundness. If you're flipping it out, you're like, and I like to tweak out. So like, that's how I like to see the hair. I like to tweak out. Yeah, but you can see each side. So as you've got that, all of that heaviness right in here. And I like, so from underneath, I'm still creating these spaces. And going in from that front piece, I'm doing a lot softer. If I know I just really want to carve it, I go in and it's just letting your thumb kind of have that control in your shear. Like really tighten that as you cut, but don't close that cut at the end. It is truly carving. So, but then it creates that space. Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna do Molly's hair. If someone would wash her for me, that would be great. I'll get you going.
Wash me.
Yeah. Thank you, Jamie. Yeah.
So then after you do all of your like shattering and your carving and everything, that's when you go in and you determine your perimeter length?
Yes. And so that's, I'll show you guys how I want to carve out the
Okay.
perimeter. Because I think that is also the one part that we're just not given. Because I do think also like a heavy fringe, and especially in a shag, you're gonna feel all this weight that sits up here. People are scared of having all of this hair up here, but really we need to shorten this. So this even, like I can come in and if I hold up, I know I still kind of want to see these things, but I'm gonna come in here and be like, and then if I come in from the other side, then I create that movement because I carved in like this, then I'm gonna carve out like this.
And then that gives you variety of movement, carvings and everything too, yeah.
So it's being comfortable moving around also, because I think we get scared of
I don't
just,
see any errors.
oh, you have to stand right here. Okay, so if we've created, I'm just gonna cut off the base there a little bit. So we have her as like a flat cornered, like straight piece. She's got pretty fine density down here, so I'm gonna go a little overboard and show you exactly like how I would do it. If we need to connect and not make it a true mullet, if we want to create more of just that natural shaggy layers, we're gonna take each of those sections towards the center of the back, and we're gonna pull it all forward. And you're gonna see, like I'm gonna cut and meet to the base. And I can show you. And you can go in and do little pieces. But then that'll create a little bit softer connection than having it like super up and cornered out. Where by pulling all of this up, you truly do create that mullet corner to be still blended, but separate enough to truly make it like more of a mullet. An editorial mullet, if you will. The other thing that I like to do to blend the bottom after I've created all this like length and movement in the back is that I'm gonna take my scissor, I'm gonna come in and I'm gonna carve down. So we're gonna go in. And again, what happens is like I'm basically creating that movement to flip it. So just getting comfortable, keeping your thumb moving. and carving in that space. And we're gonna come in from the other side as well. And I'd already blended. So, and then we're gonna do that again. It's hard because this is so fine. You can even take it out and find where there is density. But that is my one thing, is like finding, and so there you can see there's soft shattered movement, but without any like real pockets that you've created. If the hair is a lot more dense, like feel free to just go in there and go deep. But if you carve, and it is really directionality, and I think that is a huge thing with this haircut as a whole, is just being intentional with where you're placing your scissor. Are you wanting it to bounce forward? So I'm gonna come in and carve this way, so this hair's gonna kick here. Or do I want it to come the other way and I wanna come in and I wanna carve it down this way, so it tucks and it moves more towards the center of the hair. So it's really just seeing those angles in your scissor. Yeah. Did all of this make sense? Was this?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hey, Kelly.
Hey, how are you?
Great, how about you?
Okay, so I'm just gonna show you like little point cut techniques that I do as we're waiting. But I like to, at the end, I'll stand in front of them, and I like to really push the hair around in the front and see where it sits heavy. So if I'm doing that, I'm like, oh, I really need to carve this corner now, So I'm not afraid of doing a little back up, so we can kind of come under and carve. And I'm definitely knowing I want it to flip one direction. So you can see how that just moves it. And, or if you stand over them, and you flip another from behind, you can come in softly.
Good morning. Let me grab this box.
And see if that helps as well. Yeah. So we got a fun little like shaggy, super long mullet. I love it. Yeah. So we're gonna play with Molly.
Dimmy,
I know. I was like,
Here, yeah.
Yeah. So, and honestly, you guys, feel free to like grab my scissors, come in and figure out how to get comfortable cutting in this mannequin. Like shapes that you aren't comfortable cutting on people yet, or if you are and you want to just play, but do that, because I think like this has enough hair to really like work on and see how things are going. But with her hair, I'll show you my razor, so that way you'll get a little more visual. How was your shampoo today?
Oh my god, it was so nice. Yeah, I've been replumped.
So you haven't had your haircut since COVID.
Yeah.
You've cut your fringe a
There's
little bit.
all kinds of toxicity in here.
Okay,
Promise.
let's take it out.
All right, man. I'm in.
Okay.
Let me get my coffee out of the way.
God, yes, I know. It's hot. It's the worst. Do you have a side that you tend to part your hair on the most?
Oh, on accident, it kind of goes this way a bit. I tend to part it in the middle and then do this until it migrates. So I'm gonna trust you in the ball of the head or whatever you.
On the round of your
Yeah.
head. Okay. I don't know if you should. I can barely talk today.
You know,
You don't have to talk to actually do it.
just remember that my first haircuts from you were when you were at Regis.
Oh my God, the name you should not say. Whatever. I got to
Like,
where
we
I'm
were
at.
like-
I'm
we were
happy.
like
I'm happy where I'm at.
We were like 24
babies.
babies. That was like 20 years ago.
That was a good time.
That was a good time.
Oh, that was my days. Yeah. I remember writing you a note on your chair and accidentally putting a U in Shandra,
And I
and
was like,
Shannon just
"Ugh."
about killed me.
He's like, dare you do that? What the fuck is this? Okay, so she's already got a fringe, but I'm gonna create a little
Do better.
happy fringe for her.
This is with cube clippers.
It's like, let's not do that.
Did you say beard clippers?
Cube.
Yeah, we don't need to. We're just gonna continue.
Lower beard bud.
Lower. Okay, we're gonna move my fun picture that
It's really good.
I mean,
It
it
looks a
is
lot like
very
your-
artsy, you know, it's what you're gonna find.
When you're like super
If you guys need me
famous,
to
that will be
move-
like sellable art right
I think
there.
this is my peak of fame here. We're set.
You are a pretty big deal.
Yeah. Okay. So in reality, I am going to, we're gonna make this wider. We're gonna go around her face. Will you look down for me? But this is where I would keep her fringe. It naturally is where her hair falls forward. It doesn't work into the framing of her face or the sides of her bridle. What I'd like to do though, because we want to give a little fun look here, I'm gonna bring this down. And we're gonna create the beginning of this look.
You have such thin hair. Thank you for doing this.
Oh my gosh, that's so great. It'll look so fun, especially because you've got such great texture.
Oh, thanks.
She's got curl in here, which will really make this
Yeah, I was
nice.
just saying, menopause has been really taking that up a notch.
Yeah, oh my
So
gosh.
nice.
So gross.
I wake up sweaty with like a fro.
How old are we now?
I'm a grandma, Shandra.
Well, you're not from Utah,
That's true.
so at least there's that.
I only have one kid with a child.
Yeah, you don't have multiple grandchildren. Okay, so you can see I'm working from just in front of her face. I want this softness that's here. I'm gonna create these little kicks right around her chin. I'm gonna pick out where I wanna see, but we can let the hair kind of give us the guide. Her hair does have bend in it, so I'm gonna let a little shape show me. And because she's fine, I'm not gonna overlayer it. I do wanna create a little bit more solidness. But I am going to come back and have it shorter from the back, longer to the front. And I'm gonna create a soft piddle and carve into that corner. I really didn't do drugs last night, I promise. I'm just
Wouldn't care if you did.
I just allergies all along, like,
Can't believe you're not sharing.
yeah, it's just how terrible.
I know.
No, I just take
It's not mushrooms in the car if you want to be on drugs.
I mean, we can talk about it.
That'd be good for the next step.
I'm doing a color.
Okay, so I set in my guide, and I am coming from underneath, and some people are not comfortable underneath, so just if you want to come in from the top. When I do come in from the top, I like to go straight down, and if I need, then I can kind of take out my bend, so, and that's coming from underneath, I'm carving. And what I did by doing this with her finer hair, I'm gonna give her the shape that sits in her fringe, and then I'm gonna do this as a separate. It's a nice guide to make sure you understand where your fringe is sitting, and then the rest of the hair around the face. So I can kind of get an understanding of where I want to see the density. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna come up under and carve these little bits out.
So to push back,
So this will actually kind of kick out
push forward.
to push forward. So by coming up underneath and then right on the top, I'm just allowing it to have its little pedal point. The pedal point. And it's the same thing with the density up on the top. I'm gonna kind of come in a little deep and use the base of my razor. And then I'm gonna do the top of my razor through the top, just to be softer on the edges. Because as you know, the base will really carve out and take out that weight. And the top length will just be a lot softer as far as shattered. Does everybody see that?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's so cute.
Yeah.
You did good.
Hashtag it's the best. Again, I'm slightly over directing as I come in. I am gonna go a little bit more from the top. Like we're gonna go shorter to longer a little bit because she's already got those shorter pieces in her there. So I'm kind of creating like she's gonna have just a really cool undercut. Yeah, here it's like, I can't handle it anymore.
The other day I tried to leave the house without putting my eyebrows on, and Lila was like, Mom, I'm gonna go back inside.
You can like look judgy McJudgerton.
Oh my god, she's mine. She's like, she wears Lilo and Stitch pants and a giant sweatshirt and has to judge me for not having eyebrows.
Do you tell, and you tell her that?
I sure
So
do.
that's exactly.
I sure do. Super mom.
Right, she's learning. Okay. So as we did underneath, we're gonna do a little soft piddle, and I'm gonna leave it a little long just because I want to make sure that I'm finding the right shape around her face. And this is kind of where the beginning of her little, her natural bridal hairline is gonna sit, and that's where I start carving out that top.
Kind of break up that whole section that you just did.
And I like to have that whole section set in, so I just sort of know where my shape is coming from.
You usually always start that section like you're doing now,
I do.
back to front.
I do. I really like to carve out the framing.
I mean, working from
I-
here forward and
yes.
then do your.
And then going down.
Okay.
I do. I like to have the setup of the shape of the haircut from the face forward, and then I can really play with designing around it. Because I do think like a shag, that's where it's like you have your shapes, you have your right on, you have the normal guidelines, but then it really becomes your artistic freedom, and that's within the hair. And she does have, like, that's the thing, I'm like, she's kind of a perfect model for this because she does have curl and movement in her hair, and I can really find, do I need to bend it more, or do I need to cut off the little bits of the tips? The bits of your tips. Yeah, but by having this short piece underneath here, she's gonna have more fullness that sits right in that corner twist. And now what I'm gonna do with her fringe, I'm just gonna come in and I'm gonna actually C-carve, so I'm gonna swoop up so she has movement opposing to roundness. So it'll flip away versus the cup under.
Getting on this, Jessie. I just hear a little head poking from the side. A little overly owl.
But I do wanna leave,
But are you over-directing it?
I am over-directing it to the middle. This is super cute. Also tell your clients how cute you think things are. I think like when you have the excitement while you're doing it, they're like, oh,
So cute. Yeah. Instead of you being like, oh God, oh no.
like, oh shit, I did the wrong thing. Just
I'm so sorry, here goes back.
I mean, some of us are more silent, I get it. And if you guys need to come up and walk like closer, you're welcome to do so.
Yeah.
So with her little bits that were a little bit more solid, I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna take the top of I'm just gonna take the flat of my razor, I'm gonna press it down and just slightly carve. So I'm shattering her ends, but I'm not cutting into them as a flat. So I like to take my base, press it down, and just softly, just feather over the corners. Right here. So like, that's where I'm like, put the base down, soften it, and try this on the mannequin. But you can tell I'm not picking up a lot of hair. I'm just cutting off that top section. So she has a little softeningness to those bits.
Cute. Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
And so you can see like maybe I need to kind of like edge just this corner because of just how it was cut previous. Well, it's just,
The way that person
it's
did
from-
that.
it's from- I haven't had a haircut forever. It's like because Molly fucked it up.
You should have. I'm gonna do that out.
Okay, so now, because she has a little finer hair, she had denser hair, what I would do is start with my, like her horizontal parting straight up. I would create my pathway. But I'm actually gonna carve out the front shape of her perimeter so that I don't dive in and cut holes in it because I want to leave her with length. I don't wanna overdo it. So we're going to still use basically that same corner of parting that I would from the back of her head to the top of her ear. I'm going to, because I can with her hair, I'm going to create my guide. And I want to know. And I'm not over directing it. I still want solidness. And you can take this and just cut that corner. So I know I'm gonna sit her kind of right in this path. I don't want to take off too much hair. I think she's gonna be really cool with it. And now, if we take up and over direct, I'm going to create my own guide as opposed to with her fringe. Okay, so I'm going to find like where I want the top of that layer to sit and visualize what's going to come down, and I'm going to drop out that hair that is like I'm staying where I am. Okay. So it still is horizontal. I am taking vertical partings, but what I'm doing is I'm bringing it back in to that horizontal angle. And I'm meeting it back up from this degree. 40.
40.
I'm back degrees right now.
And are you still in your section?
I'm
above the
still
ear?
in the section above the ear. I'm taking three horizontal, like three diagonal partings. And you can even pull all of it up and you'll just see as you've done. Like I can see like, oh, I have a tiny corner that I need to take off. So we got new chairs in my salon. And
where'd you get them?
Exactly.
We got them at the Minerva or whatever.
Oh.
Okay, so we know we have this much to kind of lob off. The pedal pops out, like in all of them. I was like, I know that sound. So you see we've left her with enough solidness at her base of her part, of her sides, but we've given her that movement up in the front. And we'll just do it on the opposite side.
Oh, here.
So I'm just behind her. And I'm gonna bring it all down and I'm gonna see where I naturally brought her corner. Your hair feels so good.
I cannot wait. Like the world's longest hair funeral growing out for that long. I'm dead.
We have to have a hair funeral.
Man.
Is that a hair shield? Isn't it? What's the culture that has a
Oh,
acidic juice?
yeah.
Hair shield
the
for
hair
hair.
shield,
Yeah.
Little locks on your side.
Yeah. All right. So this is how this angle looked. So I'm still taking into that center corner. I've got my guide here, and I've got where I need to take it off. Because I know my angle of this framing piece is my guide. We're still basically center.
I think this sectioning keeps you from getting that like mushroom
Yes.
situation.
Very much so.
That's
Yeah, I don't want
It's
to
like
get
short.
the kinky. I don't want mushroom on it either. 'Cause,
You're like, I just want other mushrooms.
yep, exactly right. Eat them, not wear them.
Yeah, cheers to that.
Remember that was a good thing in the 90s with Salt and Pepper? They had the big mushroom hair.
Well, and the reason she had that mushroom hair was that they chemically broke it off.
Yeah.
And that was the result of this.
Technology's come a long way.
But not at all.
When she was blonde.
Yeah.
It was wrecked.
Yeah.
It was so bad.
Yeah. But you know what? A whole bunch of people were like, I'm also gonna have that hair because Salt and Pepper. Yeah.
Door knocker earrings.
Oh yeah, the big door knocker earrings were the shit.
I'm so bad, we're like,
Alright.
What about like when body glove, all one-piece suits were a thing at the time too? It was like,
They're all coming back though.
oh, listen to me, I know. And I'm super, I mean, you can take my skinny jeans off of my full dead body and just,
With your like knee-high boots.
yeah, absolutely.
Don't tell me what I
I'm
do.
basic, I'll take it. As soon as they started making them big enough for my calves, I was like, I'm gonna wear these forever. Yeah.
So I am keeping those front pieces separated. I am gonna use, so we're gonna cut them from here to here and create our diagonal parting sections.
My ass crack was out for like 3 years straight.
I mean, they're finally like putting buttons in bodysuits in all the right places.
Okay, that's true. Versus like a snaggy pube on a snappy
So
crotch.
I am gonna take, I bring the good people in my yard. Alright.
You don't know though.
Okay, I'm gonna come out vertically from under, right under her parietal, so I'm gonna cut off.
That's your guy right there?
That's my guide. Because I'm gonna wait to carve out the underneath of her perimeter. So I like to come straight out from just her round, like her, I'm not gonna be down, I'm not gonna under direct it, I'm gonna actually just over direct it slightly from the round, the beginning of the round of her occipital. So I like to come from the top of my razor into this haircut. You can find your happy places, and if you have very dense hair, come in and go in and carve out as you're going. And then we're gonna lift her up. I'll lift you up. And you can see our spots we're gonna take off. It's such a happy place.
I know, I'm like, it's going away, get out of here, yay. Oh my god, I can't wait.
But this where, like, I think with that pummel class, like you can see, so if I'm over directing her, I'm really gonna leave weight here. I need to stay at the length, at the angle of her head. But, like, I don't wanna come in right here. I don't wanna come in here. I can easily see through the hair shape and texture, so I don't wanna take out anything. I wanna leave that body there. I'm just gonna find my little, and I do move my fingers just a little bit as I cut, just for movement purposes.
what do you mean?
So I slip my fingers out while I'm cutting down. So
Oh,
like I
okay.
kind of leave it as an angle, but I'm still overall, I'm kind of going a soft direction of everything. Because we want to leave as much density in that base as we can. Good.
Sorry, I quit smoking again, so.
Oh, I'm so proud of you.
Oh, well,
Keep it
hold that
up.
thought.
Yeah.
See how it
Just
goes.
keep that up.
I'll do my best.
And if you need, like, sometimes I'll lose the tension in my fingers and I'll adjust. Cause don't lose, don't worry about you gotta have that tension.
Unlike your shirt, you can't drop it.
Yeah. I am coming from the back way so you can see it.
And you're leaving out the perimeter, right?
I'm definitely
couple
dropping her,
inches, just
dropping out her perimeter.
But then you'll go back and probably cut that too. Right,
Yep.
from 0 to.
How often do you do a combo of shear and greaseproof?
Daily. I use my shear when I do like little definition in the fringe. I definitely use my scissor and my razor together in conjunction. Okay, and now what we're gonna do is we're gonna blend her corners. We're gonna blend her corners. I'm gonna naturally have a little corner. Just carve it down. Then I'm gonna create a more V pattern in the back of her hair by bringing this forward and cutting these corners off. So when it all comes back, she'll have that breakup of layer through here and create that little V up the bottom. And if they don't like that V, just cut it off. Dana, you look confounded.
Nothing wrong with a little V.
Good.
When do you choose to re-wet the hair at all, and when do you choose not to?
So with her hair, I like having it damp, or not damp because I get to see how it's drying. I definitely, right on the ends, I will re-dampen. Yeah. But we're gonna go back in and we're gonna break up the weight that is sitting through the top. So this created all of our layering through the bottom and our shape. That still looks nice and natural, but more healthy. And
So much more.
I mean, what we could do if we wanted to, like I think it works for her hair, is to leave it a little softer and more movable on the bottom. But if it feels like you want to take out, if you want to really solid it up, go in and carve that out with your scissor. Okay. And this is my last. So then what we're looking at is like we have this density that's sitting right up here, right? We have these pieces that just need to be carved out. And this is where the petal part starts. So we can take a large section with her hair, which I'm not going to recommend because I could overdo it. I could really take out a lot of heaviness if I were just like, so I'm gonna take out smaller partings. I'm gonna come up and meet my guide. But I'm gonna come up under my fingers. And I'm gonna find where that weight is sitting. I'm just gonna give it some space. And that will give her a little bit of volume and natural body, but it won't take away where that weight will sit. So I think for me, it really is about giving yourself the visual of how much hair you're leaving versus how much hair you're taking away. And I'll even I know I want to keep that solid down there, so I'll take it out. How are you doing?
I'm stoked. Very good.
So as you can see, when I'm taking out texture and adding that extra space and movement, I'm going to take those diagonal pieces up and do it diagonally towards the top, but in the front, I am going to use that horizontal patterning again. And I'm gonna come in a little bit in the front. And then I'm gonna have you turn your head. And I'm gonna stand on the opposite side of her and create that petal. So I carved one way, and now I'm gonna carve the other.
What do you have to say about over directing with that section? I feel like I always go over.
I think over directing is great because you know you're gonna just have that natural sitting softness.
Yeah.
And also it does become the texture of the hair. Well, if you're gonna get coffee, I'm just kidding. And with her, I don't want to take out, I'm really only going to do our horizontal parting, just that top section, as opposed to getting in and doing all three sections, straight down to her ear, just because we want to leave the weight of her hair. And that's where, as it dries, you know, I'm gonna dampen this, but I'm gonna dampen it with a little like surf spray. I'm gonna give it a little texture, so, but by me letting it see how it just naturally is air drying, I can see where it's gonna sit heavily or not heavily at all. I can guide where I wanna add a little texture. She's definitely like, you can see the difference on side. Or if you can, let me know if you can. And if you guys have questions, please say things. Well, you know, your hair's kind of as you can see how deep I'm going. And do you see the immediacy of getting that movement out of there? And she still has this weight that sits visually, so it works on so, and then I'm just gonna kind of comb it out. I like to really like get the overall visual guide and make sure everything looks appropriate for how old I am. And I just like to have a flat surface, so move those buttons. You can come up underneath, because it's nice that she has texture in there. No, she's just nice and if there's anything I'm seeing or you're seeing and I can't see, please let me know. But the thing that I love about this now is that she can really pull her hair up. She can still get all of her hair up high if she wants.
That's how I do my.
Yeah. And she's got enough body to still kick around in there. She also has all this. So you've got this cute little framing. You've got curl that's bending.
That's really cute.
And tweaking. I love this little fringe, you know, in there.
Yeah,
I
it was
totally,
really
like,
cute.
I wish I
Thank
could put that in there. But yeah, so I think that's where, and you can still shake out and pull out more than you need.
So cute.
Cute.
So cute.
I'm so cute.
I'm gonna just do a little product and I'll show you. I am gonna maybe tweak it.
Dude, that you're just gonna have to. I believe in you.
Thank you. Try to believe in me too.